to make sure I wish the men's team good luck today. I'm excited to watch them get out here and watch them play as we watch the tape. I had a great coach's clinic, I want to thank. I think we had 500 people here today, so yesterday today. I want to thank Coach Cook to have coach his status. Come out and talk to coaches last night. And their staff did a great job. We had Tim Polisek, national champion, North Dakota State, and their staff came down and spoke this morning and watched practice. So really grateful. Thought it was a great opportunity. We had people from several states. We had a person here from Australia today, so a really cool thing. And then just in terms of roster news, we dismissed Harvey Gilmore from the team, so wishing the best as he moves forward. So with that, I'll take any questions you guys have.
Anything for Ron Gilmore, whether it's violation or anything?
Nothing outside the program, nothing criminal or anything like that.
Just your receivers, how have you felt they've done this spring? I know when we talked to you last, it was just getting going, but how have you seen the chemistry with the quarterbacks halfway through?
I think the chemistry is, fine. I think we have really good secondary. I think the battles have been good, and I think Tequil's coaching them hard. So I think we're work in progress. There's a lot of guys new to this system. They picked it up well. They learned. I think Dane has done a good job in terms of coming in, and he's the veteran guy in the group. He's played the most football. Asking guys to. Okay, let's go walk through the plays, let's do a little extra. Me and Wish and Sat and Nicholas, we tour this on every day, and Tane's in there every day. I mean, he's a machine. Like, he just loves to cover, train, and work. And I think he's brought a lot of better presence to that one, but I think they're all doing really well.
With Javen Wright, how does it mean to you to have him back, and then what's it been like actually watching him be able to practice?
Well, I was really sad for Javen last year. I think Javen was a guy that would have been a Senior Bowl guy, combine guy, draft pick, had this not creeped up on him in camp. And his chance to play at the next level, because he's definitely a pro player, is to be able to practice. So Trey Smith went through this coming out of Tennessee. I remember reviewing the draft process. He was a medical DQ for us. The Chiefs took him, and I don't know. I don't mean to speak too much on Trey's situation, but there's obviously some changes that have to happen with practice, and and he's been able to be really successful. So I hope that opens the door for Javen. What's happened with Javen is they've been able to control his medicine, where he's able to practice, and so I think that's going to open up doors for him if he can get to a season. He's good enough to play, but also, hey, they'll come. He can also practice, and so that makes him much more viable as an NFL player. And then just as a person, I mean, he's just a wonderful young man. I mean, he's fun to be around. He's grown. I mean, he's intelligent, smart, great personality. So I think we play guaranteed 12 games a year. The rest of the year we spend a lot of time together. So it's great to have guys like that around. And I think he's really good, steadying presence for those guys.
Did you guys scrimmage today, Coach? Were you able to get any scrimmage work done today?
We went. The last part of practice was live, so we got some live work at the end. But especially with the clinic, did all of our different drills, and we're still kind of in a teaching phase, but we were able to get some live work. So it'll be fun to go back and see, especially some of the younger players, on defense, how they tackled, how they tracked the ball, how they played in a live situation.
About halfway through spring, you talked before the spring about the importance for the young offensive linemen with the injuries that you have, the young guys to step into important roles. What have you seen there, and specifically at the center spot, how's that progressing?
Yeah, I think the offensive line this spring has been one of our highlights. I think as people have come in and visited, especially people who've been here before, I think they see the physical growth of our guys. The guys that were once 290 are now 310. And a good 310, not, hey, we're just putting on a bunch of weight. They know how to practice. They know how to handle the work volume. Center, we have a lot of guys working there. Justin's doing a really nice job when he gets reps there. Sam Sledge is doing a really, really nice job. Other guys can rotate in there. Jason can go there. Probably forgetting some guys, but I think overall it's been a really good group, and it's fluid. We're able to move guys around, and And to your point, you have Henry's not there, Teddy's not there, Turner's not there, and Gunner's not there. Those are 4 guys who started a lot of games. We're definitely improving, and like I said, it's one of the high spots right now, I'd say, for us.
You guys have, just in general, every year you have new guys coming into the program, and what would you say is the most impactful first thing any newcomer can do when they come into your program?
Well, it's not my program anymore. That's the great news. For the first year, it's kind of my program as I'm trying to teach it. I mean, I think people, as they're out there at practice, they see a much different version of me, much more serene me maybe, because we have so many elite people in so many areas running the practices, right? Like I was telling Eck out there today, like I'm a little bored sometimes because, I'm not going to go coach the O-line over Donnie. I'm not going to run the offense over Dana. I'm not going to tell the receivers how to do something because DeKeel's so good. I'm not going to go to the special. Eckler's running the special teams at a high level. Defense, so we have so many good people. So I think it's our program now, which is really a cool thing, and especially with the players. I mean, the players are doing such a good job of coaching each other. I think when a new player comes in, I think you just have to. I think the first thing is just kind of learning the culture. I mean, we talk about our process. We say first you have to learn it, then you start to live it, and then eventually you defend it. Right? Where, instead of coming in having a bunch of, sometimes we go into something new, we have a bunch of suggestions. Just come in and learn it. Learn how we do everything. Right? And then after you've done that, you start to live it out. Then, hey, what about this? What about that? And I'll give a real credit to like Rocco, Dane. Some of these guys have come from really successful careers and really successful programs, and Rocco, Rocco just played for a national championship, coming from a great program, and he hasn't come in and said, well, we should do this, and this. He's come in and just kind of adapted. If he has a question, he'll say, hey, coach, you want me to do this? Can you tell me why you want me to do this? Which I love, and then when he does have, hey, what about this? It's great. It gives great feedback. So I think the best thing you can do when you come in somewhere new is just learn. I tell our young coaches a story. Like when I went to the Giants as an assistant coach, and you might not believe this, but I'm a very opinionated person. I have a lot of ideas. I first went to the Giants. I was like, and I'd worked with, some of the people there before. I was like, what? I'm going to not say a word for the first 6 months. I mean, they could be sitting in a meeting and they could be talking about something that I knew the answer to 100 times, and I was just going to sit there and keep my mouth shut. And then after about 6 months, I was like, okay, now for the next 2 months, or whatever it was, I'm going to only speak when spoken to and answer questions if I know, And I think it's really important so that you don't come in and be someone that when you talk, everyone's annoyed with. And then after I had kind of earned my stripes, and if I had something to say, I said it. And I've liked that approach from all the staff coming in. I've liked that approach from all the players coming in. They've all done a really nice job of just, hey, how do we do this? How do we do that? And then, they add a lot of value now.
The other day, Graham Stad was talking about his work on the scout team last year, and even that, like Mackay and Quinn is doing well there, and the importance they took in that. Have you seen some guys grow from that and take that into the spring, what they got out of that last year?
Yeah, well, I think the old days of playing football, where you went somewhere and you redshirted and you got on the scout team, you got your face beat in, and then eventually you learned to fight back, and then fight back into football, and then you progressed. Some people want to skip that part now. They'd rather go down a level to playing. I think there's nothing better than playing against good players. I mean, if you're Mackay Nelson and you're running through, last year we were top 25 defense. You're running through a top 25 defense every day, and you're having explosive plays and making plays. It only makes you better. So, I think there's a lot of guys who have been through that process. And then we try to do, sometimes our twos go over and they take scout reps when we get into the season. So we try to rotate it in a unique way. I honestly think there's not a player right now that's really lagging behind. There's not a lot of players. I'm sure there's some that wish they could do better. I think a lot of our guys have been through this process. They've been with us for a couple of years. They were on the scout team. They're bigger, faster, stronger than they've ever been, and they're competitive. So the scout team, I think, it's one of the best things that can ever happen to you if you want to be a great player. And you mentioned Mackay. I think Mackay's doing a really nice job. Quentin's been on the scout team for really 2 years waiting for his turn. I've talked about how much I feel about him. I think Dana mentioned him the other day. I think Quentin's going to be a really good player for us. So.
Do you see it as having a particular abundance at Jack linebacker, where you have McCullough and McGahee, who seem to be two pretty high potential, high-end guys? I know you have others there, but those two in particular, how do they play off of each other?
Yeah, I mean, and we're not married to I'm not married to how it has to be, one or the other. I mean, I want the best 11 guys on the field. So, we think we had some dime stuff we were running today. We were 4 down, and the 4 best rushers are going to be out there. And Willis has a ton of ability. He's really made a lot of strides. I know this: if you put him in the game, he's going to make some plays, and so he's really growing in his consistency. And his Deshawn is, obviously he's played a lot of different positions in college, and he's kind of trying to settle into this. So I'm excited about both of them. I think both of them can help us in a myriad of ways. I also think V9 can come off the edge. I think Javen can come off the edge. So I would really like our defensive staff to push a positionless mindset of hey, who are the guys that can affect the game? And I'd like to have different packages. I think when we got to the bowl game, whereas Coach White was more of a, hey, this is kind of our deal, 3-3-5, and I think he did a great job. I thought Tony did a great job of adapting to, hey, some more packages as we played. And then I think John continued that. So, I want guys to, hey, I'm a starter on the dime, I'm a starter on the nickel, I'm a starter in the joker pack. So we have a lot of different packages we can play, and we need to have pass rush. And so those guys both can do it, as can others.
With Deshawn Singleton, just how have you seen him attack this spring, especially knowing that this upcoming season wasn't necessarily promised for him in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I think the thing with Deshawn, I don't know if I've ever talked about Deshawn's decision before. I don't know if I've ever talked to you guys about that. I was like, go to the pros, and then when this kind of happened, I was like, hey, if you want to come back, I think he saw what happened to Ty and the growth Ty had. And so him and I, we went over to Early Bird and sat and just had breakfast. And I was like, what do you think? And he was like, what do you think? And last thing, I want to just give a guy bad advice. I mean, I'm not going to talk a young man into come back and playing for us if it's not the best thing for him, right? So I said, well, why wouldn't you just go to the pros? And his point was so poignant. He went to junior college, came here. Now, I don't know what happened when he came here. I wasn't here, right? So then didn't play a ton, I don't think, that year. And then had an off season with us, but then got hurt after 4 games, and then had no off season last year. So that 4-game injury, we thought he was going to be back 5 weeks later. We practiced him for a day, and we got re-hurt, and he didn't come back till the summer. So he's really never had a true spring and off season with us. So I think for him, I think scouts really liked size, all his traits, size, length, speed. Excuse me, I don't know what's wrong, physicality. And I see him now working, to improve in man, working to just continue to be a better blitzer, a better tackler. So he just hasn't had, we talk about our process a lot. He spent a lot of time in the training room. He hasn't had a lot of time to kind of truly be in that. And so, he's taking advantage of the reps out there. I think he's going to be shot out of a cannon this year. I think he'll make the same kind of jump that Ty made. I mean, there's just time on task, and so I think he had a really good mindset about attacking it. And we have a lot of guys who played a lot of reps in the secondary, and I think they're trying to come together. And then we have some really promising guys behind them or with them that can supplement them, and he's one of them.
At this point in spring, are you seeing progress special teams wise, or what can you kind of see at this point in spring ball with the work you're doing there?
Yeah, I mean, Tristan's I think had a really good spring so far. He had a good day today. John's been limited with a quad strain. Nico's done a nice job. We're not getting a bunch of full punt team reps. It's a lot more broken up into pods. I think you see a ton of guys. We have a big, fast, athletic team. And I think you see a lot of guys really buying into the way we're doing the special teams techniques. And I think Mike's doing a great job of teaching it. I think if you asked... if Susan got up here, if Wish got up here, if I got up here, most of us could, talk about all the techniques because he does it in a really systemized way. And So I can't say, it's all put together yet, but I see us really growing and developing in the system, and I see our guys bought into it, and I think our specialists, are doing a nice job. I think our snapping's coming along. So, we have Brett now full time, right? So we didn't have Brett last year, now we have him this year. So, just a real step in the right direction.
You're 7 practices in, halfway. Has there been any revelations? Anything that surprised you about your team?
No, I expect us to be pretty good. I think we have a good team. I expect us to be good. So, that's me being like right down the middle. I'm not saying we're here. I think we should be good. We got a good team. Got good players. Guys have been around a while. We return a quarterback, who's played. We got, a bunch of guys who played. So I expect us to be pretty good. So I think we're right where I thought we'd be. Like I said, I think I haven't really been around you guys, but if I'm around you, I think you'd just sense like a kind of a calm, serene, like, hey, we're doing what we're supposed to do. The first 2 years have been a lot of work, and a lot of work, not by me, by a lot of people. And I think a lot of that work has come into fruition, like the amount of things that we're having to do are less and less and less. And I think that allows our focus then to be on the players. And I think the players are minimizing the other distractions, class and all that stuff. And they're just, kind of doing a nice job of focusing on football. We have areas that we have to improve upon. We have areas, and when I say improve upon, we have a lot of young players. I have to see how they play. But I think we're doing a really nice job. I think the players are doing a really nice job. So it's about where I thought it should be. It's where it should be, and it's about where I thought it would be.
You kind of alluded to it, but you have a very different coaching staff this year compared to last year. How have you seen your, just coaching style or just coaching in general, especially at practice, evolve from last year to this year?
No, I think it's always been like this for me heading into like year 3. It's, like I said, it's kind of in the same continuum everywhere because I'm, probably to a fault, but obviously to a fault, I'm very particular about, I want to build something that's, built to last and built the right way. So we spend a lot of time on things that most people don't care about, or some people might not care about. But, I used to walk out of practice and yell and scream about, get the people off the field and da-da-da-da. Now, I'm not doing that because everyone's been here. Now they now know. The field has to be this. And so I love our staff. I liked our staff a lot last year. I think a lot of guys on our staff took a lot of heat for things that, that sometimes players had to play better, and so our players are better. Our coaches are going to do a great job. And my job, I believe that, there's many roles of a leader. Like, my job is to figure out where we need help and try to insert myself there. And so right now I'm spending probably more of my time recruiting and doing things like that than I am on the actual X's and O's, because I know the X's and O's. I trust them. Great thing about what Dana did was he didn't change the system. So I walk in and duo's duo, and we coach inside zone this way. We coach 4 verticals this way, and defensively, I kind of I know what they're doing. So I've learned a lot from Eck in terms of how he's doing it, and I just think really happy with the staff we have, and that goes to every level, right? I'm talking about to the our athletic medicine. I think Drew Hamlin's done a phenomenal job. We had a lot of guys have surgeries, and guys are coming back to the field and getting back, and so. I'm really thrilled with the people that are in the building. The building's great, but I tell all the recruits it's the people in the building that really matter, and I think our people are doing a nice job.
Hey, a year ago during spring, you held out some of the veteran guys and like scrimmages and things. Are you taking that approach this year with any of your returning veterans, or maybe letting some younger guys take those reps because you know what you have in some of the older players? Yeah, I don't know that so on defense, we have so many guys that we're kind of already naturally having to do that to get everyone reps. I'm a big believer, like we do 3 groups, like if we're doing a team period, it's 1s, 2s, and 3s, where a lot of coaches come in, they're not used to that, they're used to like just 1s and 2s, but like we're 4 deep at some positions, and it's those guys I need to figure out, who they are and how they can help us. So we're naturally probably kind of doing that a little bit. And then offensively, there's not as many of those guys, right? So, like Justin's trying to evolve into a guy who can play guard and center, so he needs those reps. And Pritchett's new, and Rocco's new to our system, right? And so, we're not as veteran necessarily, as some of those other areas. So pretty much everyone
Like we went live, Dad didn't hold anybody out. Everyone took a rest, but it wasn't like a 120 play scrimmage either. So, as we evolve, if we next week, if we go to that, then if we go to that kind of a scrimmage, then I might hold a couple guys, but we don't have a ton. Like we had Bryce Benhart who played 60 games. It's not as many of those guys this year. Even like Dane. He's played a lot of football, but he's got to learn our system. So we're trying to really do a nice job of getting everyone on the same page right now.
And what would have been like your traditional spring game? Will you do that on your own, like a closed scrimmage this year? Like instead of practice 15 being the big spring game, will practice 14 be kind of your own scrimmage that you do this year?
Yeah, it's a great question. I came in with the intentions of doing that, and so I'll just play it by ear as we go, because like even this week, if some of the things we thought we were going to do this week, we didn't do. We got a lot more into 2 minute this week, a lot more into some end of game stuff. And so as I look at us where we're at right now, last year we did a lot of we did the spring league and lots of competitions and things like that, because we were trying to up the competitive nature of our team. We're a very, very competitive team right now. So now we're trying to take more of a focus on, hey, we've got to learn this better. We've got to execute this better. So, which is a good thing. So, I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, we'll definitely get scrimmage work. I love what we did today. We got a lot of teaching, a lot of work, a lot of situations, and then we were able to get some live work as well. So, I'll get to next Thursday, and we'll see what we do next Saturday. And NCAA rules, we're allowed to have 3 scrimmages. The spring game does count as one of the scrimmages. So, because of the way we're doing it, because if you want to use former players, if a former player participates when one of our players participate, if they're on the field at the same time, it counts as a scrimmage. So even though we're in, not in full pads, it still counts as a scrimmage. So it's the rules. It is what it is. But we'll get plenty of work and have a chance to see the guys.
They count it as a scrimmage, though, for you guys.
No, for it to be a scrimmage, it has to be over 75% tackling. So, today was not 75%. So, and we have to designate the days. Hey, you have so many days. You have 3 scrimmages. You have so many days. You have to have 3 helmet practices. Then you have tackling and non-tackling days. Tackling day is less than 75% or less than 25%, whatever it is. So we probably were less than 25% even today. So,
Matt, how have you continued to see Dylan progress and grow since we last talked to you?
Yeah, one of the cool things. Glenn, Dana, whomever did was, I went to practice the other day and they had GoPros on. I was like, well, someone watched Instagram or something and they wanted to put GoPro. I thought, whatever. Well, I didn't realize, I came in and everyone was talking about, hey, did you see the GoPro tape? And I hadn't seen it. So I went in and watched it, and there's audio. So you can watch the guys as they get in the huddle and you can hear them talking. You can see the other guys in the huddle. You can see you can see a lot. And so I think just Dylan's command of the offense and what we're doing is just really impressive. So whether, obviously that's growth, but, he's out there today, and we're in 2 minute, and I think TJ was going, and, he's coaching him because he just, like I said, he just gets it. The plays haven't changed, they've maybe evolved a little bit, but he has great command of what we're doing, great command in the huddle. Last year where adversity maybe would affect him a little bit. Some practices he would kind of go down a little bit. Now he's learning much more to be the same guy, and I'm excited about where he's at. I'm excited what he's doing.
Did you lose a bet with your daughters that caused you to have to do viral social media dancing this week?
Yeah, I walked in the training table and Harper was like, Coach, we need to do a TikTok. And, Leona's like, Dad, you need to do a TikTok. And so I did a TikTok. And, my wife doesn't have any social media, right? And within 15 minutes, she was like, you did a TikTok? So that's how fast it went. And the players were they're losing their minds because they're like, you did it in the facility? And I said, no, the facility. I did it in the concourse, which is a public area. So I had to defend myself on that. And, so I don't know what to say. So I was cool with my daughters for a second. For a second, my daughter was like, that was really cool. And then I guess there was millions and millions of views. So my daughter thought it was really cool. And then I think she realized it was Harper, not me. But so I think it was, I'm one and done though. I think one and done. So and then I've had people walk up to me and say, like, Coach, are you really going to do Dancing with the Stars? So, which I think I could do, honestly.
Retakes.
What's that?
Retakes.
So so Avery works in our office. I think it was 2, so maybe 3, because we did it. I had to figure out how to do it, and we did it. And then the second one, we did it, and I threw my hat at the end, and they're like, "That was great." And I was like, "Oh, I didn't realize how I could do all that. It was going to still go." So the third one, I was like, "I got this." And then, so the players making fun of me. They're like, "You're terrible," but deep down in their hearts, they know. They know.
Thanks.
Anybody else? It's good to see everybody.